That's her whole identity. That's her whole personality, is just making no sense and going against the basic forms of being a man or a woman. That's her thing. That's what she got. Nothing else.
Society is told you from birth. Someone...
Like, I always react to these people, this diagnosis, the thing about non-binary trans people, 98% of the time, it's just a mid-white person. It's just a boring white person with nothing else going on, who doesn't want to feel the guilt of being part of the problem, a white patriarchy, so they pick this shit up. And now they're a minority. And they get cheered on by other white people who believe in this shit.
A doctor says, this person has a penis, I'm going to assume that they have to be a man and fit into this box we're pulling. But why?
When Matt came around and said, do I think school is sexist to boys? Yes, I do. Wanted to say something. It wasn't even a debate. There was no debate. And if it's not useful, then go the fuck home. Why are you standing here mad? This is a debate.
That's your response. When you say, I don't want to hear from everyone,
I listen all the time. It's just the worst place ever. Is there anybody from Portland, Oregon in the chat? Just hate these people are the worst.
And I'm talking. Would you like to engage her? You want to hear from you? Okay. Do you have anything to say? I just want to make sure. So this is what I want. I don't want.
Well, that fucking foodie guy here wants us to be a problem so bad, and this guy's been nothing but respectful for 13 minutes straight.
The reason
look at the disrespect he's got to put up with because he's a straight white man.
I'm more than happy to engage him. The reason that I said that is because I don't want you to walk away and someone to say, so I get her a chance to talk before, but that's only because I was listening to what you were going to say. And I realized that the class is in and the reason that I switched to what she said, and I'm more than happy to listen to her, is because I don't want people to be
They just told you their pronouns and their lived experiences.
Okay, then I...
They just told you
They just told you? They're just waiting. They're just standing there waiting for you to step up. But all of them came down and assumed his gender and assumed his sexuality immediately. And just because you can't fucking fuck up the English language and start saying, I want to hear what they have to say. Yeah, you right there. I mean, they right there. Can you tell them what they... Bro, just because you slip up once, and this guy's like probably in his 50s, he's been speaking the English language correctly for 50 years, and now he has to fuck it up with your dumbass. Actually, they don't care pronouns. These people suck. They don't want open dialogue. They want to be right. They want to feel on a moral high ground. They want to look down at you and say you're a white, oppressive, patriarchy piece of shit, masculinity, misogyny. They just want to use those words and feel better. They want to get rid of white guilt and be oppressed because it's fun, and they suck. Ugh.
pronouns and their lived experiences.
Okay, so instead of getting... Okay, so this individual just told me that, and I'm trying to be reasonable, and I think it's better to have a conversation than for you guys to give me the finger and yell, fuck you. So if you want to say something, go ahead.
That's already been... You to address this. Like, just address...
Nobody even acknowledges that so ready to say this. No longer you're standing in prevent. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say it.
To address that she did, like, just address the... You just address...
No one cares! You know, get it? I'm sure it's fine. No one
just called this
cares.
person.
Okay.
And they just told you their gender.
Okay, well,
That was this moment right there. Yo, thank you all to said this is next level planning. It's time to get boomers to vote for abortion. Every one of the parents are now voting because they wish they used it at this moment. Yeah.
Apologize when I say they.
That's the harm being done that we were talking about.
Do you accept my apology? Okay.
It's a generational, education.
Okay, so, good.
That's great. I love that, and I accept your apology.
So it's better to have a conversation about this than to scream at someone from the rooftop?
Oh, I don't know.
My students, I don't pay attention to that, but you triggered me outside with your take. If my students put the wrong
yelling "fuck you" to me and giving me the finger.
You're just saying, please go away or not welcome.
I said fuck you. Okay.
I said fuck you. Fucking idiots.
Okay, so no.
My goal is to disrupt this. At a school, where people are supposed to learn and have open conversation, is that the guy looks old as fuck. Is he a teacher? His goal was to disrupt open dialogue and just feed you the same bullshit that everybody else in that school believes. Jeez, man.
So, okay, so I understand.
And none of them check each other out at school. This guy loudly said, yeah, I was yelling, fuck you. I wanted to ruin your shit. And none of them even care. They just keep looking for it. And this guy's a bad guy. Why? Because he's not gay? He's a bad guy?
I understand that you supported this stuff. And we live in democracy. Other people don't have those beliefs. And I want to ask people if the reasons they have for their beliefs are justified. And this is that experiment.
Your thought experiment, we actually have to go. We're not part of the thought experiment. We're all social workers, and we saw this harm being done. We just wanted to come here with curiosity and also some information.
And do you feel that you've spoken? Do you feel that if anybody else has something to say that you haven't had an opportunity? You feel like you can. But that doesn't answer my question. I just asked if anybody else would like to speak. If you'd like to speak, I'm standing here. Okay.
But I think to Joel's point, we hope that this was informative and helpful.
It wasn't informative or helpful. You didn't say anything else that any fucking liberal bot doesn't say. You said all the right keywords. You said all the right gender construct fucking bullshit. You said in your speech, people sound exactly the same. I hope you see this and put down your thermos and say something unique.
You hurt your feelings, and
No, it didn't hurt my feelings.
I'm glad because our student, who was hurt, we're worried about stuff, and potentially many, many others. And so that's why we came down to talk to you, just because we have a personal connection.
Well, I'm glad. Isn't it better to have a conversation with someone?
Just punch the enemy today.
No, the other teacher's like, yeah, my whole goal is to disrupt this.
Enterprise should be about.
It's not safe for everybody to have that conversation.
It's not safe to have conversation at a school. That's what I'm saying, man. School's a scam. Don't send your senior kids to school. You start. Don't tell them to go to gender studies. Trans shit's all bullshit. Don't let her change her gender. It's delusional.
Alrighty, this happens. There's not much information here.
Yeah, like everybody.
We're fighting for and advocating for. This is our job, and it's what we care about. We're passionate about. So sometimes it's hard.
Only enemies
It's the one that we care about being hard.
And you being harmed. You think that the best way for people to understand
We are victorious.
to understand your point of view?
This right now, showing up.
Advocating.
For the people that may feel like they don't have a voice.
Okay, so people who watch this, do you think that the people who watch this don't agree with you as a result of having watched this will then agree with you?
He's seeing the viral video already. He's like, oh, you guys all look stupid, and everyone is going to call you stupid in the comment sections. He got 1 million views, and everyone called him stupid, right? Imagine being an adult and needing an emotional support system to have a conversation. Yes, everyone thinks you're fucking retarded.
I'm on a mission to make the world a better place, starting right here at Georgia Southern.
I am ready to make a difference, to speak up, to stand out.
Ready is my promise to future generations. Are you ready to join me?
Walsh revisits his What is a Woman interview with Dr. Forcier.
Well, we talked to a lot of people for my film, What is a Woman, which is streaming now exclusively on the Daily Wire. And you go to whatiswoman.com and get signed up, and you can watch the film right now. Many of the conversations we had were unintentionally hilarious. Many were disturbing. Veering significantly over to the disturbing end of the spectrum is my interview with Dr. Michelle Forcier, who is, as you'll hear her proudly identify herself, a gender-affirming pediatrician, also an abortionist. We flew into
A doctor is a gender-affirming abortionist? Why is a doctor gender-affirming? You're there to treat me.
Delusions spotted out in the dew.
Nonsense. You gotta watch this documentary. Shut up, my wall.
Providence, Rhode Island, to speak with Dr. And what we found in many of the interviews that you'll see in What is Woman is that gender ideologues are very polite and nice right up until the moment when you express any skepticism at all. But before we get to that point, where things really start to sort of fall apart, let's get to know Michelle a little bit.
My name is Michelle Forcier. I have a medical degree from the University of Connecticut residency.
This is each of the client's fans look like exactly like this. The chat, quickly, WL, should a doctor be allowed to be gender affirming? Should a doctor be an abortionist?
University of Utah Pediatrics, and I've worked for a number of different Planned Parenthoods for 20 years.
Maybe it's not dumb. It's all the people at Planned Parenthood doctors. But classifying yourself as an abortionist is a different story.
I do advanced intersection of abortion as well as gender hormones, sort of looking at the whole sort of schema of gender, sex,
babies and changes of gender
and reproductive justice.
So you've done a lot of work in this field. Can you just start by telling us?
Sure.
At what age can a child first begin to transition into another gender or identify themselves as a gender different from how they were born?
Well, there's research and data that shows babies and infants understand differences in gender. Some children figure out their gender really early, and the reason why we say, oh, that's interesting or important is because they're figuring out their gender identity is not necessarily congruent with their sex assignment.
When the doctor sees the penis and says, this is a male, has the sex of male, that's an arbitrary distinction.
Telling that family, based on that little penis, that your child is absolutely 100% male identified.
That's exactly what a male is. And this doctor wants a baby to decide.
No matter what else occurs in their life, that's not correct.
So what is gender affirmation care you're a big proponent of? If we walk through a child sitting down with you is questioning.
Keep in mind, a child, not a grown adult. You gotta be 18 to vote, 21 to drink a beer, 18 to go to war. But you can be a child and snip your neck off and take puberty blockers and hormones.
What's the gender affirmation process?
Affirmation as a pediatrician, as someone who says my job is to provide the best medical care for you, is I have to listen really carefully. How I put it for kids so that they can understand it.
Oh my gosh.
And more excitingly, where would you like to be in the future?
Have you ever met a 4-year-old who believes in Santa Claus? So this is someone who believes that the fat man is traveling through the sky in a flying reindeer at lightning speed, coming down his chimney with presents. Would you say that this is someone who maybe has a tenuous grasp on reality?
They have an appropriate 4-year-old handle on reality that's very real for them.
Agreed. But Santa Claus is real for them.
These people are literally, this doctor literally wants you to kill your baby and wants to manipulate your child with their tongue. She's like a literal witch. Come here, kid. I'll cut it off. I'll make you feel better. Kill the baby, too. Kill it. Step off the cliff. You're okay. I'm a doctor with blue hair. Literal demons.
But
Yeah.
Santa Claus is not actually real.
Yeah, well, but Santa Claus does deliver their Christmas present.
Well, yeah, but he's not real, though.
To that child, they are.
When I see a child, who's a Santa Claus, and then let's say this is a boy, and he says I'm a girl. This is someone who can't distinguish between fantasy and reality, so how could you take that?
I would say that as a pediatrician and as a parent, I would say how wonderful my 4-year-old in their imagination is.
You know, one of the hardest things as we did this film, especially interviewing somebody like that, is not, like, my instinct just to yell at them.
That's what I do. Mace! You want the steak! But look at him, for being rational. He did a great job. That's why this documentary is so good to begin with.
But that's not what it's kind of a short film. It's just me going around yelling at people. The objective here is to ask questions, and that's all we did. And let gender ideologists ask questions and let themselves talk their delusion out on camera, essentially. That's the idea. And to show, is this something that can withstand scrutiny or not? Even just basically, what we discovered is that it can. So what's happening in that exchange is, first of all, she says, talking about a child who sits down with her, is she wants to know about their gender journey. Where would you like to be in the future? So she's talking about a child's like 5-year gender plan.
And these people don't go to jail. But you see how quickly they
Safeguard our seats.
We've been talking about these kids. We're sitting there with the nice blue hair lady. Yeah, I want to be an astronaut. Yeah. Do you want to be pills? Yeah. Take these pills. I have the solution. She should rot in prison for the rest of her life. But she thinks it's good. Or she's just really twisted. I think she actually thinks it's good.
The point I was trying to get across to her is that children don't have a grasp on reality. I mean, even if in theory people can choose their own gender, which they can, but if they could, it would make sense to say that a child could choose it. Children believe in Santa Claus. So, like, what do they know about reality? If a child believes that not only Santa Claus is real, but that fairies and dragons and in this kind of fantasy world, and then the boy says that I'm a girl, that claim exists within the same fantasy world. This is just imagination. This is a kid who doesn't understand the sexual fantasy world. So how can you make his determination? But then again, as found there, the show that even when you're Santa exists. So I was unclear about that also. Do you actually think that Santa exists?
What's a real pediatrician? So easily you can hand her off, you can say, okay, then get a checkup, and then they come back and look at gender. You gotta be really careful what you do with your children. You gotta be really careful who watches them. It's not just out of paranoia, it's out of reality for what the agenda is pushing. They want to make your kids weird.
Well, what's happened? It's as you're talking to these people, it's like your own, you feel yourself going slightly insane. So it was a pretty bewildering exchange there, but it only gets weirder from here. Let's be honest. Male gametes. That's what it is.
Your sperm
Then what does?
it's a constellation.
A constellation of the fucking stars.
In reality, in truth, okay?
Whose truth are we talking about?
My truth. It's my truth.
Talking about?
The same truth that says we're sitting in this room right now.
You're not listening.
If I see a chicken laying eggs and I say that's a female chicken laying eggs, did I assign female, or am I just observing a physical reality that's happening in the world?
Does a chicken have gender identity? Does a chicken cry?
Well,
Does a chicken commit suicide? Let's
Right, what the fuck is she talking about?
because you're trying to
chicken has sex, so can you
assign gender. But a chicken doesn't have a gender identity.
So we assign chicken?
We assume they're female and male in eggs.
That right is the
Dumbest shit I've ever heard.
there what go down as and every other thing that makes it on this particular list also happened in the film, but certainly one of the most outrageous exchanges I've ever had with anybody. And of course, see, this is what happens when you start asking questions to the proponent of gender ideology. Is they start they end up backing themselves into various corners.
A practicing doctor right now said that.
Have to make increasingly more wise to get themselves out of the corners that they've backed themselves in. And so, to the courthouse. Sex is like it's on a spectrum. And sex is something that is, as she says in our conversation, she says that sex is assigned at birth. That just like doctors are just deciding this kind of arbitrarily. Well, if that's the nature of sex, then what about other organisms aside from human beings? Okay, we would also say that a chicken is laying eggs. Oh, well, that's a female chicken. Are we assigning that? Is that just something we've decided? The chicken is female?
See how when you apply that logic to anything, how reality is just made up in your head now? It's like, oh, this is a bottle of lotion. No, I assigned the word lotion to it. But at birth, you don't know, baby, it's my truth. And then what?
Or is the chicken female? And if the chicken is female, then that would tell us something about the nature of biological sex, which is that it's not assigned. It is observed. But she can't go along with that, and so she starts talking about the chicken's gender identity and whether chickens commit suicide. And it doesn't get much better. Well, last week, Kim Kardashian announced her new role as chief taste consultant for Beyond Meat alternative meat.
Look at my French fries.
Kill them all! Maker, according to a Bloomberg report, this is a last issue for the fourth edition.
So medical.
What age does the medical transition with medication?
So medical affirmation begins when the patient says they're ready for it. So that could be.
So never, just whenever they feel like it, when they're ready for it.
A kiddo who is just starting puberty and panicking because they're getting breast buds or they're panicking.
Everybody's panicking when they start puberty. That's a natural part of it. And this bitch, this loud walking devil demon, come here, I'll step up.
The courthouse is fallen. They have established the
Pains. You know how many people in America
Stop their bombs.
This is getting bigger and busier, and they're worried about all kinds of masculine changes. And that way, puberty blockers, which are completely reversible and don't have permanent effects, are wonderful because we can put that pause on puberty. It's like if you were listening to music, you put the pause on, and we stop the block. Puberty would go right back to where it was the next note on the song. Just delay that period.
Oh my, that's great.
Specifics here about puberty blockers, and I'm not going to say myself right now a lot in response to that. People go watch the film because, as I said, I'm asking questions. We don't just ask questions of people on this side. We bring in other people, so there's a little bit of a back and forth here, but we're going to get a response in the film to this claim that puberty can just be, just pause it. As she says, like music. Does the human body work that way? Is that the way it works? Where you can take a drug to intentionally interfere with certain puberty.
And this is what you're supposed to believe in now. Holy mind, she's probably a famous artist. See this donation right here as a female artist who works in animation and digital art. I have a huge audience, and your content is a relief from the woke BS. I fear cancel culture. So you know what she did? She's probably famous, and she got a burner account just to say, like, oh my God, I need a break from this. Because this puberty which is taking your children and converting them into demography. That's normal. That's the standard now. What I'm saying is controversial. Separate yourself from these rich demons. You know that's why they call me every YouTuber's favorite YouTuber. Because something like this, I don't know who the fuck that is, but people can't even support me publicly because they will get canceled. So fuck the people saying that I switched up. I've always had these beliefs, and now I get to do it in sugar form. And also,
fucking stream and talk about it. But you're not supposed to hear this. This is not the agenda. The agenda is what the fuck that doctor's saying. So people need to make a burner account and say, yo, thank you. Because this shit is the truth. Not the blue-haired witches taking your kids away from you.
Normal, healthy processes. And you can take, and then there's no negative consequences at all. Just stop taking drugs and pick up where you left off. Which, of course, the interesting thing is that even if that was true, which it is, but even if it was true, if a child's taking puberty blockers to stop their normal development, and then we're just putting it on pause for, let's say, 5 years, and then they decide that, okay, I don't want to take this anymore. Well, at a minimum, now they're going to be 5 years behind growth and development. So even according to her version of events, like, at a minimum, you're going to have stunted growth, and you're going to have someone who is behind in their physical development. But actually, the consequences are a lot worse than that. As we discover in the film, and as we get into in this next exchange about puberty blockers themselves, what are they? What do they do? What is their actual purpose? Let's watch that. One of the drugs used is lupin, which has actually been used to chemically castrate sex offenders.
You know what? I'm not sure that we should continue with this interview because it's...
She cannot even look at this deep right here in her ass. What's her name one time? Dr. Forstier. She cannot even talk about the medication she's giving children, which is the same to castrate criminals. Because it's, you know what? It's kind of giving medication to kids. If you are too afraid to talk about the medication that you're giving children, go to jail. I hope you rot in prison. No, genuinely, fucking not really do. You can't bring anybody downfall. I hope that she just never does this again, and I hope she loses her license as a doctor.
Seems like it's going in a particular direction.
Well, you're a medical professional.
I am a medical professional.
You don't want to talk about the drugs that you give to kids.
Again, I'm a physician and I use medication. You're choosing exploitive words. Drugs. I give drugs. Medication. You're choosing exploitive words. Drugs. I give
I'm choosing a
chemical
word that was an addiction.
That's not a correct term. Puberty blocking.
I could like look up on my phone. I'm pretty sure.
That's exactly what it is. Doctors, Jack. Doctors.
So I looked it up.
You can look it up on your phone.
It says medical definition, administration of a drug to bring about a marked reduction in the body's production of genetically special testosterone.
And I'm saying, as a pediatrician who takes care of hundreds of these kids,
castration drugs to kids is malignant.
It's about the context of caring for a child and seeing the
It's the context. Even doctors are putting feelings over facts. Not even the kids' feelings, because the kids doesn't even know better. Our feelings about gender is more important than medical information.
the suffering that kids can have that have not been in affirmative home situations.
Well, that was your child. This is literally a demon walking. Alive, Mom! Cleanse yourself. I need to you for a sprinkle.
It's the part in our conversation where things got
Let me get some demon in the chat. Put the demon emoji in the chat. Dr. Forcier, you're going to see this. I'm going to send it to you. 10,000 people watching this. We all think you're a demon. And I don't want you to go to jail. I don't want to pray in the downfall of anybody else. I think you should lose your medical license. And I hope that everybody here never has to put their kid with you. You don't deserve to be around my kid. Fuck that, Dr. Forcier. Shame! Shame! I bet you would shrivel if I sprinkled holy water on you.
a bit contentious, but I wouldn't say that that's when they started to get contentious. Actually, what we discovered in doing these interviews is that, I kind of knew going in, I had certain points in mind where I thought, okay, well, when I ask this question, things might get a little bit tense. I kind of know because that's more of a challenging question.
So she sees this.
And what I found so often in these interviews is that things got tense much earlier than I originally thought they would, because there were questions that I thought would be really easy for the person that I'm talking to that turned out not to be easy at all. Questions like, what's the difference between sex and gender? These are like, that's supposed to be a softball. But even that, things start to go off the rails from these interviews. I asked her a question like that. Because what we found is that these people, these gender ideologues, especially the ones who are in this industry, and they're making a lot of money off of promoting gender confusion, especially in kids. It's that what we found is that they are not prepared to encounter any skepticism at all. They're not prepared to answer any questions. The only questions they're prepared to answer are the questions that are not really questions at all. Right?
Okay, chat more demons for her.
Questions like, how meaningful is it to you to be able to help people in their gender journey? Like back to those kind of questions, where it's just a setup for them to give a pre-planned canned speech. So by the time we got to this, it's already gotten pretty tense. And of course, I asked her about Lupron. Now, this is a drug that she gives to kids. And as we hear from somebody else in this film, who has experience with these kind of drugs, personal experience, this drug in particular is a drug. It is actually, by definition, chemical castration.
That word is malignant and problematic and toxic.
Which is why I wasn't planning on doing that. But I pulled out my phone, look up the definition of chemical castration. She says that chemical castration, that's an exploitative word, and I'm being malignant and harmful by using that word. Well, look up the definition of chemical castration, and that is a puberty blocker. That is, by definition, when you give a kid a puberty blocker, you are performing chemical castration on the kid, period. And we know that because Lupron...
Look at the Illuminati!
Specifically, has been used to chemically castrate sex offenders. You notice in that exchange, by the way, she didn't deny. She takes issue with the words that I'm using. She threatens to get up and storm out. She's offended by the way that I'm phrasing it, the words. But she never says, oh, no, that's totally incorrect. Lupron does not do that. Lupron's never been used that way. Let's say that. I don't have to tell you that gas prices are really high right now. You've probably noticed yourself every time you go to the pump. Now that's code.
Shut up.
And which is, what is a woman? And probably is not going to surprise you by now that she doesn't exactly have an answer for it. But let's listen to what she...
Okay, now we're going to get more demons. Now she's finally back on the screen. This guy's chatting right now. I ain't gonna lie.
So we're going on this journey. Boys can be girls, girls can be boys, men can be women, women can be men. It makes me wonder...
Look at her face. Does that not look demonic to you? Do you see that evil smile? Puberty blockers. Give me your children. I'll make them better with my chemicals. I'll castrate your kids. I'll puberty block them. I'll gender affirm them. Yes. Give me your kids. Give me your children. Give me your abortion. Evil face, man. There's something off about that. I swear to God, bro.
What is a woman?
Vaping can deliver toxic metals like nickel and lead into your lungs. That's metal in your lungs.
What is a woman? A woman is someone who claims that as their identity. It could be many things to many people.
That was her answer. Well, a woman is anyone. And that was, by the way, not to give any spoilers of a woman, but that is the answer from the left to the question, which is a non-answer. It's the same thing as non-answer.
It's whatever you want. That's why this documentary is great. When you find a question that good, it would have been a great 1 minute podcast question. What is a woman? And wokies, they don't know because they don't have to confront it. They just feel that it's my truth and I identify here. And gender's not always put in a spectrum because they just decided it. What is a woman? They don't know. Brilliant question. One question can expose their bullshit. That's enough of that. Matt Walsh keeps talking.
An answer. But that is the answer. A woman is someone who says a woman. And of course, to everyone who gives me that answer in the film, I have the follow-up. Well, a woman is someone who identifies as a woman. What are they identifying as? And around and around again. Because they don't have an answer to the question. This is a medical doctor who can't tell you what a woman is. I mean, this is someone who if someone goes to her and says, as a man, and says, I'm really a woman, I want to transition into a woman, she will help facilitate that process, and yet she doesn't know what the word means. She doesn't actually know. She, by her own testimony, when someone says, I want to transition to a woman, she doesn't even know what that means. Like, what are you transitioning into? She has no idea. As we found over and over again in the film. And that was just a few minutes of the film.
Okay, enough of that. All right, there's this fucking overweight dude who's coping and like has a sad existence and who gave up and is probably going to have cholesterol problems, but I hope he doesn't. I hope he gets better, but he won't because he's lazy and he hates himself so much that he puts his head on other people. That's it. Male privilege is a myth. The next changed my mind. Chad, is male privilege a myth? It's a myth.
You're getting very emotional. Okay? This is serious.
Yes, of course it's serious. This is serious. I'm a cis white male. I'm a male, and I'm privileged. Please, someone be my girlfriend. I said the right thing.
It's a privileged male. Why do you have to kill
Rape is illegal.
to kill a male rapist when that male could just not rape in the first place?
Male. I'm a cis white male, and you shouldn't do that. That's the bad thing.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Wouldn't it be fucking great? Yeah. You know why? Wouldn't it be great if men didn't rape? Yeah.
Who are you arguing with?
It's the latest installment of Change My Mind. This time, male privilege is a myth. This is going to be fun. Hey, really quickly, want to hear from you. Which subject, male privilege, edited segment, we can go hours. And sometimes angry leftists surround and feel safe yelling from the mob. All of a sudden, I can't get to everyone fast enough. Got it. Great. So if you had...
Shout out to Steven Crowder. Big inspiration for the 1 Minute Podcast.
True. The statistics of, according to the FBI. Wait, so much food, right?
We noted a poo. We noted a poo, and we would like to extend an invitation. Would you like to...
I'm really okay.
Beg your pardon? Oh,
It's a chicken boo, but you don't want to talk. This is leftists nowadays. Just that's wrong. Okay, why? No. Goofy.
You can sit down. You can sit down afterwards, and we'll do it. I appreciate it. Yeah, you wait your turn. What was that? Continue my bull. Well, there you go. That's always a sign of an intellectual type. But you'll get a chance at that, sir. Now, we'll come back to this gentleman in a minute. He's actually the subject of today's long-form, unedited interview. I won't bore you with many conversations because there wasn't all that much productive.
The triggered ones are the best when they get tight.
If you look even at our SMU interviews, the one aggressive feminist kind of took over, was confrontational, but all of the others were really productive. Every other Change My Mind we've ever done has been pretty productive.
We don't want to watch that. I want to see people get mad.
But I noticed when discussing the idea of male privilege, or any privilege for that matter, on campus, not only was pretty much everyone hostile off the bat, but not a...
And before we get started, chat, remember, Creativity Kit just dropped, link in description. Stop scrolling, start monetizing. I'm going to teach you all the ways to become an online entrepreneur. And how to make videos is all I know how to do, bro. I'm dumb as hell. I've just been making videos for 9 years. And now I want to teach you. Once I thought the haters took it down, but it's back up.
Single person provided any substantive argument. Every single point, without fail, was anecdotal. What rights are afforded in
How old is she? She's in college?
2018 to men exclusively that aren't afforded to women?
I feel your male privilege is a myth. I feel like...
Okay.
This is serious.
Yes, of course it's
I'm
serious.
a white privileged male.
I'm a white privileged male. You're right, Jack. That's the male version of
chose it, of course, but I mean, the reason why I chose it then shapes other opinions.
My friend raped within the first 2 weeks of coming to the school as a freshman.
This also might be why, despite having a permit, the gender studies professors who, along with their students, teach the injustice of police brutality inherently within the system, called the police on us simply for disagreeing. Quick, bring in the patriarchy. So we weren't really able to finish our conversations in the first place, and at this point, when everything was anecdotal, I kind of just have to pick one. Enter this guy, the person you saw before, who was yelling and cussing at me.
Oh my God!
Beforehand, who also stayed to yell and cuss at students afterward.
I've never heard of this. You're not a white girl, bro. You're not a girl. Raise your hand if you know someone's been raped on this campus. Yes. Raise your hand if you think rape is a horrible thing.
Wow! You agree?
Watch and make your own decisions. No, come up and debunk my bullshit. All right. It's always a great way to start a civil conversation. What's your name, sir?
Gregory.
Gregory.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So why the anger and profanity? That was such a civil conversation.
Answer your question. So anger, profanity, because this is an extremely sensitive topic.
And I'm a white male.
And it's almost ironic to become such a university that has such a problem with male privilege. And I know you guys, the last conversation was a lot about racial things, and you want to talk about laws, but I want to talk about really about the practicality. So practically, I don't have a car here, so sometimes I like to go down, I go to yoga. When I walk back,
He goes to yoga! Oh my God!
I have my headphones on, I have a hoodie on, so I don't know where do I...
Doesn't he look like the vampire from the Twilight movies?
I feel perfectly comfortable doing that. I wasn't really conscientious of that my entire life until about a year ago. I was on the phone with my friend, and she said she needed to get her textbook from her car, and it was probably 11:30 at night, and she just wouldn't do it because she didn't feel confident. She didn't feel safe.
She didn't feel safe, but I'm a white male.
Sure.
And so that's something that's inherent as a male, biologically.
As a white male,
larger, and just women. That's an inherent privilege.
Inherent privilege as a male.
Privilege, where I can
biological privilege.
Biologically, you're going to be larger, taller, and you can overpower a woman. And for the most part.
Are you implying that men are stronger than women?
So you're saying that male, female is biological, first off. That's the premise.
I'm saying there's both biological and societal. And
societal.
And there's also systemic.
Systemic societal.
Systemic's going to be where it's just ingrained in a society.
Society. That's all they got. Leftists just got the word society and they think they're smart.
For example, explain to me what the difference would be between a biological male versus a systemic male.
I did not say that it's biological male. I'm talking about systemic male privilege and biological.
Okay, well you said
what? What? Wrong.
You said biologically men are bigger and stronger, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we agree on the premise that...
Let me clarify.
Biologically,
males have privilege because they are larger. Because of that, they have a certain safety afforded to them where they can go out and then they don't have to worry about...
This is what you sound like when you go to college too much, man.
You guys, a horrible comparison earlier about how males are more vulnerable to being burglarized or whatever your thing was.
No, I didn't. That wasn't what I said.
Okay, what did you say? They're more likely to be experience violence.
Yeah. Okay.
You guys already triggered, bro. This is gonna end in him yelling.
Can I answer? No.
It's not by the opposite gender.
Can I answer?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So they're statistically more likely to be victims of violent crime across the board.
By which gender?
No, you just said. Do you mean gender, biologically, or systemically?
What? Wait.
You just said there were differences between biological, societal, and systemic. I want to make sure we're talking about
systemic male
privilege.
Because you're forgetting the privilege.
forgiveness, systemic
What
privilege.
the hell is the difference between a systemic male and systemic male privilege?
You just said
Let's assume
a biological.
College is a scam, yo. Look how dumb they sound.
Gender and systemic gender.
Okay, well,
There's
okay,
no
then
such thing as a systemic gender. Difference.
Okay, hold on a second.
Biological gender privilege. Don't forget the privilege is very important.
Yeah, it's very important to remember the privilege. Yeah. Okay. Violent crime, many of them would be committed by men at large. Domestic violence is very comparable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
domestic violence would be committed on the same rate from biological women to men as men to women.
Yeah, you're saying bisexual Ben Affleck, like, let's hear him talk.
Who are more like vulnerable to violence is by other men.
Statistically, having more being the victim of violent crime, yes. Statistically, also being the victim of domestic abuse.
Male victims are mostly being victimized by other men.
Sure, let's go with that. Yeah.
Sure. You think that's